Sandy never exceeded a Cat 1 hurricane.
Storm surges of over 14 feet.
These trees were just snapping.
Significant infrastructure issues.
Cell service was very spotty.
Unprecedented for us as a company.
It's all hands on deck.
Was out of power for 9 days.
Considerable number of people that are involved.
The largest number of claims.
Financially, it's the largest net event we have ever experienced.
Most challenging situation in their lives.
Perfect storm.
Starting in, I guess it was March of 2010, we had a nor'easter that was sort of a surprise to most people. Since that time, we seem to have been in somewhat of a pattern.
And most recently, we're talking about Irene from a year ago, and now Sandy.
The 100-year events happened inside of 15 months.
It seems like the frequency is there, but it's really more of a severity issue than it is a frequency issue.
If you have a storm run right into our breadbasket, so to speak, then that's a challenge.
We saw it come in at a rate and a force that we hadn't seen storms hit the Northeast, and it took a track that followed, unfortunately, our path of insureds.
It was the largest cat that we've had to deal with, the largest number of claims.
This was a wide-scale event. There were a lot of trees down, there were a lot of power lines down, food spoilage.
On the commercial line side, we saw more activity in New York than we saw in New Jersey in terms of flood.
Then you also had backups because of the waste systems or the sewers plants, and it caused backups in the basement.
But if we had had the rain that was originally forecasted as part of the storm, we believe that the damage would have been even greater than it was.
Well, not only did it impact customers, but it impacted Chubb.
It was really incredible, the feats that people went through and the trauma that this storm really caused, both personally and professionally.
Here in Warren, we were essentially shut down for a good week. Many of the other offices in the area were affected. Downtown was shut down.
Employees came to work to make sure that our insureds and our agents had the response that they needed, even when they themselves were impacted.
Many had no power. Many had no phones. Many were taking care of their families and cleaning up after the storms.
Just the simplest acts of trying to communicate with our clients, it was very difficult because the cell service was very spotty.
The roads that were out, places that were not accessible, kept us from getting to certain insureds for a period of time.
But then you had this gas shortage issue. I spent between 6 and 8 hours on gas lines.
We actually had a good system of identifying and sharing information on where people could get gas.
The difference was the direct contact the Chubb employees had with the other Chubb employees. The support network, the community that was created between the downtown New York office, the Long Island office, the Westchester office. It created great community, great friendships and partnerships, and really increased the fiber of the organization.
There are selfless people at Chubb that will do whatever it takes.
Someone who is responsible for safeguarding people's most prized possessions and assets. And that, at the end of the day, is what insurance is intended to do.
So you had Chubb people settling Chubb claims in a Chubb culture. It was a perfect scenario.
It's really the focus on the customer and how easily, an event like this brings people together to do what we know at the end of the day is why we exist.
We certainly have our catastrophe playbooks, which detail the responsibilities of everybody involved in orchestrating our cat response. First and foremost, we have our cat manager.
I monitor how strong the storm's going to be and the location of the storm, and that guides me a lot as far as the staffing that I'm going to need. I prepare a cat roster, and every outside adjuster is required to commit to 2 months per year when they could be called and they would be the first responders.
When the cat actually hits, we call in as many folks as we can, because it's better to go big and make sure we have enough folks on hand to take those calls.
Logistically, we'll place people in locations where we think we may need them. If it's outside property staff, start to escalate in terms of other departments helping us. We can bring people in from other departments, as we have CPI, CCI, Unfortunately, they've had a fair amount of practice the last couple of years. Even some branch underwriting personnel have helped out, and internationally.
So I'm going to pass out some training material.
We have dedicated training on how to handle property claims.
So many of our folks have been around for years in the industry. So the combination of those factors allows us to leverage depth in the claim organization that's quite unique to Chubb.
The thing I'm most proud of is the response of the Chubb folks that were actually in the midst of the event.
So in moments of catastrophe, there's not a person in the operation, from the home office, the field operations, the claims operations, and even our agency operations that don't jump into action to really drive what we do best.
I heard the crash, and then I saw the limb, and it was just sitting right across the family room itself. And the oldest was hysterical, realizing what had happened and how close we were.
Probably the largest oak had fallen directly on our family room extension. Knowing there was nothing I could really do at that point, I went back inside and got on the phone to Chubb. I was able to speak with someone directly.
You experienced a loss on the home? All right.
Our CSRs, they understand that one of the first things they want to do is make that insured understand that they're listening, that they're there for them.
All right, is that homework or so?
Chubb's response in terms of helping to get emergency response teams to people's homes in order to shore them up and protect them from further damage was very, very good, and the Franklin home was a particular case in point.
I'm going to give you that claim. Are you ready?
And clearly we'll handle the claim down the road for you, but we understand in the next 60 minutes, that's what you care most about.
Hi, Fred. Hey, Jim. Nice seeing you. Sorry you have to see me under these set of circumstances.
Thanks for coming out.
My initial visit was very early on. The tree had been already removed from the home. It was obvious that there was going to be a need for structural repairs to the home, requiring additional board up and temporary protective repairs. I told the insured that the amount of damage to his home was significant, and I let him know that Chubb provides me with the ability to bring certain experts in at our expense to help assess the damage, including restoration builders, emergency service contractors, contents experts, and structural damage engineers.
They have been particularly pleased with Chubb's response. Chubb has recommended a contractor to them that they're equally as pleased with.
So we got to inspect these joists and make sure that they're not affected. Because the thing was, a lot.
The contractor was very thorough. His engineering background was obvious. Speed, execution was important to relieve the reminder of this, and Chubb was able to get the ball rolling very quickly and expedite that.
The claim centers have always dealt with each and every claim that comes our way with that fairness and integrity and speed, and they resolve each and every claim because they know it really does make a difference.
Everybody was hospitable, everybody was courteous, everybody was sympathetic and understanding, and reassuring that, you know what, we'll get through this, everything's going to be okay, whatever you need, Mrs. Franklin, we're there to help you out.
We have the ability on site to record information, write estimates, and that speeds the entire process and makes it much easier for insureds to have in hand estimates that they can then turn to their preferred providers.
And that simply, again, points to the level of communication, the level of trust and awareness between the insurance agency's relationship with Chubb and that moving through directly to the client.
And in a way, we were fortunate that this was not a huge rain event by the time it got to us. What it was a very large surge event causing flood, particularly in coastal or low-lying areas.
I think high tide was at 11:11. The water just didn't fill, it just roared through like a tsunami. And we ended up with 50 inches in the building. And it took parts, refrigerators, tables, workbenches, computers from one corner of the business and completely threw them in the other part. There's no manual for this. The manual is called Chubb.
Eleanor has been a client of mine and my father-in-law for approximately 50 to 60 years. They're in the jewelry cleaning and machine business.
Great staff. They've been with us dozens and dozens of years, some of them 30, 40-year employees, so they're really part of our family. Laying them off was just heartbreaking. It's October 29th, we're walking into the holiday season, and you have to tell them that they can't work.
He says, what do I do? I said, well, you're with the best company. We got Chubb involved.
Roger was at our door, and he was phenomenal. He told us he'll get a partial payment for us as quickly as possible so we could get back on our feet and start working to clean up. And he stressed how important it was, A, to get the company back on its feet, that's what Chubb wanted to do, and B, get the employees back working. There was a complete team of people that Chubb had sent through to help us with the different aspects of the business to get us running. So the first thing we got was a forensic accountant come in, sat down with us, explained how the policy worked, explained the business interruption aspect of it. He also ran through the policy with us to show us where there were opportunities to collect money or put in claims for areas that we didn't know about. For instance, we lost all our instruction manuals, our work manuals, and there's a part of the policy which allows us to claim for reprinting and recreating all the work instruction manuals for the factory, things that we had no idea about. Structural engineers, and they basically checked the building on the inside and outside to make sure that we were safe. They sent in a salvage company to help us with our inventory. Some of it could be salvageable or saleable, and some of it obviously was just, had to be discarded.
The process was simply amazing. And because of Chubb, monies were paid, the people were brought back to work before Christmas, and everybody had a great New Year.
Getting the money is the ultimate goal, but how you get the money is almost as important as getting the money.
This claim was settled quicker with the amount involved than any other claim I've ever had.
Chubb came in, they took us at face value as our partner, not just our insurance agent, and now 4 months later, we're back. They were a lifesaver. With another insurance agent, we might not be in business today.
With the size of the catastrophe we had, we still have maintained remarkable customer satisfaction, and we're at a 98% highly satisfied rate.
It's very different when there are hundreds and hundreds of claims all taking place at the same time. Well, Chubb delivered. They were prepared and they delivered.
Chubb really is the complete package. There is not a company that could come close to the Chubb service folks.
Given the heightened claim activity we see coming out of CATs, there will just be an ongoing process where we every year try to do everything a little bit better.
It's a stark reminder that these things can happen here, do happen here, and will continue to happen here.
I think our claims organization, our underwriting organization, the field operations, and certainly the home office operations pulled together, and we were able to triumph over Superstorm Sandy.
We're going to plan as though this sort of issue will happen again in the future, and we will be prepared accordingly.